The story opens with a cheerful girl wearing glasses and pigtails named Hayuka eagerly asking her classmate Iori if they are going to watch a movie together when they get home. Iori becomes extremely flustered by her directness and exclaims that this is the most significant moment of his life, while a flustered Hayuka gets annoyed with him, pointing out that he has been acting distant lately. Iori reluctantly agrees to watch a movie just for today and then quickly leaves for the day. As Hayuka stands alone looking a bit dejected, she is approached by her blonde friend Azusa, who finds it rare to see her waiting for someone. The scene then shows Iori secretly meeting with a different blonde girl named Hayori, preparing to tell her something important, while Hayuka watches them from a distance with a heartbroken expression, quietly calling Iori an idiot. The story then follows Iori, who is starting his day and thinking about how bright the morning is. He reflects on how he took full advantage of his parents being away on an overseas business trip during spring break. He spent the entire vacation indulging himself by playing games and doing whatever he wanted, as shown by him relaxing in his room in front of a large monitor. Just as he is getting ready to leave, his younger sister, Ruka, calls out to him cheerfully as he walks through the doorway. As they walk together, Iori's sister Ruka teases him, saying it is really sad that he has no friends and that his new class will be the same as always. She then tries to cheer him up, exclaiming that they will be late and asking if he is excited about his new class. Iori remains silent, and his sister starts to pretend to cry, feeling sorry for her pitiful big brother. She wipes away a fake tear and says that as his little sister, she feels incredibly sad for him, even though she says it with confidence. She then looks at him with a deadpan expression and asks if he would please introduce one of his friends to his brother, which causes Iori to react with an exasperated sigh. Ruka playfully hits Iori on the back, and he tells her not to say such embarrassing things first thing in the morning. She responds that as long as he is there, that's enough for her. Iori sighs at her high energy and tells her to go to her middle school, pointing out that she is walking in the opposite direction. Ruka retorts that he always has something to say back and walks off, shouting that she doesn't care anymore. As Iori and his sister bicker, Ruka spots a girl with long, dark hair named Hayuka and waves energetically, wishing her a good morning. Hayuka, who is walking ahead of them, turns and smiles, remarking that it feels like it's been a while and that Ruka is full of energy as usual. Ruka notes that she and her brother rarely go to school together, and she encourages Iori to say hello to Hayuka as well. Iori hesitates, but Hayuka smiles and says it's fine, waving kindly at them. However, Hayuka's inner thoughts reveal a completely different attitude, as she internally remarks that Iori's facial muscles and vocal cords must have atrophied from disuse, making it impossible for him to even make a sound. Iori, seeming to sense her true feelings, retorts that if he can talk, then Hayuka should have spent her spring break working on herself. Hayuka's pleasant facade drops as she glares at him, while Iori grins and declares that she should be more considerate of his throat. He internally comments on how sharp Hayuka's tongue is, as usual. Hayuka's expression becomes one of intense dislike as she tells Iori to stop calling her by the sama honorific because she hates it. Iori casually apologizes. The scene then shows a brief flashback to when Iori, Hayuka, and Ruka were younger children, playing video games together on a couch, illustrating that he and Hayuka were childhood friends because their houses were close. Iori's narration explains that after Hayuka made her high school debut, she started avoiding him for some reason, and by the time he realized it, a lot of time had passed. A visual comparison shows her past self with glasses and a more reserved appearance next to her current, more stylish self, highlighting how much she has changed into a completely different person. Back in the present, Hayuka tells Iori that if he keeps being so solitary, no one will bother with him, and that's why people call him gloomy. Iori is taken aback by her directness, feeling the verbal punch and wishing she would give him a break. He weakly tries to defend himself, saying that being alone isn't so bad. Hayuka simply sighs in response. Iori complains about why these things always happen in the morning, and Hayuka argues that he should be thankful because she is the only one who tells him the truth. She then announces that she is going ahead and tells him to come later, leaving him behind with his sister. Ruka asks Iori what he did to Hayuka, and Iori, looking downtrodden, simply says he understands and will follow. Iori admits to his sister that he doesn't really know why Hayuka acts that way either. As he and Ruka walk to school, Hayuka can be seen walking ahead of them, looking somewhat troubled. Iori's internal thoughts drift off as he wonders why these things happen, and his expression becomes grim. Later in the classroom, Iori is sitting at his desk, internally complaining about being in the same class as Hayuka again because it's too awkward. Nearby, Hayuka is talking with her blonde friend, Azusa. Azusa asks Hayuka what she did during spring break, And Hyuka replies that besides hanging out with Azusa, she just watched movies at home and was lazy. Azusa then playfully comments that even so, Hyuka seems a bit different. Azusa gets closer to Hyuka and tickles her, complimenting her on keeping her figure so well and saying it's amazing. Hyuka tells her to cut it out, while another classmate comments that it's sexual harassment. Iori, sitting at his desk, accidentally glances over at them and gets caught looking. Azusa notices his stare with a sharp glare, and Iori quickly looks away, flustered, pretending he wasn't interested and was just randomly looking in that direction. Hyuka glances over at Iori, who pretends to be asleep at his desk to avoid the awkward situation. She then turns her attention back to her friends. A bit later, Azusa whispers to Hyuka that she saw something interesting today. Azusa leans in close and secretly tells Hyuka that she saw her receiving a love letter, which surprises Hyuka. The news spreads quickly, and another classmate excitedly asks Hyuka if it's true and who gave her the letter. Hyuka looks a little flustered and says she will tell them after the opening ceremony is over. Ori, still at his desk, overhears the commotion and is shocked, thinking to himself about that plain girl Hyuka getting a love letter. As Hyuka and Azusa decide to head to the ceremony, they walk past his desk. As they walk down the hall, Ori stops Hyuka, asking what she is doing and telling her to move. He comments on her popularity, and she replies that she gets confessed to almost every week. Iori then speculates that she must be very picky about looks or perhaps already has a college boyfriend if she's not dating anyone despite getting so many confessions. Hyuka snaps back angrily, asking who he is calling picky and calling him an idiot. Iori seems surprised by her strong reaction and asks if she is actually curious despite acting uninterested. Hyuka then smugly says that unlike him, the guy who confessed, Kudu from class 6, is handsome, so maybe she couldn't say no. Iori is visibly bothered by this, wondering who Kudu is and if he's really that good-looking as he's never heard of him. After school, Hyuka mentions that the boy, Kudu, told her to wait for him in the classroom. This triggers a memory for Iori, sending him back to the unforgettable summer of his first year in middle school. He started thinking about a girl named Hiyori Shimazuki who sat next to him. He remembers trying to act cool while she often teased him and talked to him. Iori recalls how Hiyori would touch him frequently, which made him get carried away and believe that she totally liked him. He remembers telling his friend about it, but his friend, who looks suspiciously like a younger Iori, expressed doubt. The younger Iori insisted it was true, but another part of him wondered if a popular girl like her was just being friendly. This memory connects to a past argument with the younger, pigtail-wearing Hyuka. She had angrily asked him if it's fine as long as a girl is popular and if someone plain isn't good enough. Iori, confused by her strong denial, asked what was wrong with liking a popular girl. Hyuka warned him that he was better off staying away from that kind of girl. Stubbornly, Iori ignored her advice and called Hiyori to the classroom after school, where he confessed to her without telling Hyuka. Back in the present classroom, Iori asks Hyuka if she likes Kudu. Hyuka denies having any feelings for him. Iori presses further, asking why Kudu would confess if he wasn't sure she liked him back. He argues that people usually only do that when they are confident the other person feels the same way. Hyuka is taken aback by his line of questioning, asking what he is even saying. Iori continues, assuming that she is going to start dating Kudu. Hyuka becomes furious, calling him a dense idiot and questioning what he's talking about. She lets out a long, frustrated sigh. Iori is completely confused, thinking that it totally felt like she was about to start dating Kudu and wondering what happened. Hyuka clarifies that there is no way they are dating and calls him a serious idiot. Hyuka suggests that once Iori finds someone he likes, he should think about whether there might be someone close to him who likes him. Iori is shocked by this and asks what she means. He wonders if it could possibly be her, as she is always near him, and he just hasn't noticed it until now. As he processes this, Hyuka continues, saying it means exactly what she said. Hyuka's expression turns sly as she says, "Whatever," and reminds Iori that he himself said she gets confessed to almost every month. She then delivers a crushing blow, stating it's because she's surrounded by handsome guys, implying he isn't one of them. This comment sets Iori off, and Hyuka yells at him for being confusing and acting like a critic when he has no experience, even bringing up the fact that he got rejected himself. She tells him to worry about himself first and to keep living his gloomy little life while glaring up from the bottom at her happy one. She then storms out, leaving a stunned Iori behind. He wonders if he stepped on another landmine, and thinks that was the worst Tsundere damage he's taken in years. Feeling dejected, he remembers how back when they were kids, Hayuka would always apologize after a fight, and they would make up by watching a movie together. A movie poster catches his eye. Deciding he wants to see a movie, Iori goes to a theater by himself. Since he's already there, he figures anything will be fine to watch. He checks the showtimes and sees that there's still a while before the movie starts, so he decides to kill some time on his phone and come back later. To pass the time, Iori goes to the rooftop of a nearby building. As he arrives, he sees the silhouette of a girl standing right on the edge. He watches as she climbs over the safety railing. Fearing the worst, Iori panics and drops his bag, shouting for her to wait and not do anything rash. He runs towards her, telling her that there's still a fun life waiting for her. He tackles her from behind to pull her back from the ledge, but the momentum causes them to fall over together. Iori lands awkwardly, and the girl complains that he is hurting her as he seems to have his hand on her thigh. She then looks down at him with a surprised and blushing face, asking where he thinks he's touching her, as his other hand has landed on her chest. Iori immediately recoils in embarrassment, apologizing profusely. The girl laughs and clarifies that she wasn't going to jump, much to Iori's relief. She explains that she just wanted to see the view of the town, as it's been a while since she came back. She felt nostalgic and wanted to see the city from a high place. Iori apologizes for tackling her, and she says it's not a big deal, though she playfully points out the part where he grabbed her chest. On the building's rooftop, Iori is filled with dread, envisioning his peaceful life ending as the girl he mistakenly saved giggles at his panic. He frantically tries to explain that his actions were a complete accident, while she playfully questions if he acted on purpose. Iori pleads for mercy, even bringing up his little sister, as he imagines a grim future of corporate servitude if this encounter goes poorly. The girl's demeanor changes when she recognizes his Koryo high school uniform, a fact that seems to delight her. A brief, mischievous thought crosses her mind about using a certain trick if word of their meeting gets out at school. Eager to escape the mounting awkwardness, Iori quickly says he is just glad she is safe and bolts for the exit, calling out one last apology for the accidental grab. The girl calls out for him to wait, but he is already gone. Left alone, she smiles warmly, thinking to herself how Iori has not changed at all, still possessing a clumsy yet kind instinct to help others. She softly says she is home and looks forward to being able to play with him again. The following day at school, Iori is visibly exhausted from a sleepless night spent worrying about the potential social fallout from the rooftop incident. His friend Azusa points out how terrible he looks, asking if he was up all night again. Nearby, Hayuka overhears his complaints about his fragile state but offers no sympathy, coldly remarking that she knows nothing about his late-night activities. Azusa then turns her teasing towards a flustered Hayuka, questioning if she actually got a good night's sleep. Hayuka quickly becomes defensive, insisting that she is simply worried about Iori. Azusa presses on, noting how Hayuka always seems to be watching him. Blushing with frustration, Hayuka denies this, explaining they are just old acquaintances and worrying that people will start rumors if they are seen talking too much, especially since she believes no one ever speaks to Iori directly anyway. Hayuka lets out a sigh, sadly reflecting on how much Iori has changed, while Azusa voices her confusion over their complicated relationship, unable to tell if they are friends or not. Hayuka, annoyed by the persistent questions, snaps that they are merely acquaintances and tells Azusa to stop trying to make connections that are not there. Azusa just laughs and encourages her to cheer up and not be so standoffish. From his desk, Iori overhears their conversation and internally grumbles about Hayuka being a gloomy and twisted person, just as she declares that class is about to begin. Later in the classroom, Azusa is playfully begging Hayuka to let her copy her classical literature homework, but Hayuka admits she hasn't finished it either. Iori watches them from his seat, finding himself flustered by Azusa's cute and friendly behavior. Worn out from his sleepless night and the morning's interactions with Hayuka, Iori struggles to stay awake through his classes. He drifts in and out of sleep, vaguely hearing his classmates buzzing with excitement about a very cute new transfer student. He finally jolts awake with a start, wiping drool from his desk as the chatter continues around him. Azusa fills Hayuka in on the news about the popular new student, but Hayuka appears uninterested, reasoning that since the transfer student is in a different class, they will not have many chances to interact. Azusa praises Hayuka for her cool attitude before jokingly asking if she would be upset if this new girl were to steal her crush, causing a nervous Hayuka to deny. Azusa glances over at Iori and reassures her that there is nothing to worry about. Their conversation is cut short when the classroom door is thrown open with a dramatic bang, grabbing everyone's attention. Iori looks up to see the very same girl from the rooftop striding purposefully into the room. The entire class, including a stunned Hyuka and Azusa, watches in confusion as the new girl makes a beeline directly for Iori's desk.